Hey everybody, welcome back. This is Miss Faye and this is my world. Today's topic is breaking free from family trauma. Breaking free from family trauma. Before we get started, I'd like to say welcome. Welcome to the channel. Welcome to all the new viewers, the new subscribers, and welcome to you who have been with me from the beginning. I really appreciate you. Now let's dive right into this letter. Breaking free from family trauma. First, I want to make a statement here about toxic parents and what effect the toxic parents can have on you. Toxic parents can severely impact their child's emotional and psychological well-being by fostering an environment filled with criticism, neglect, and unrealistic expectations. They may often prioritize their needs over their child's, leading to feelings of abandonment or unworthiness. This behavior can hinder the child's ability to establish healthy relationships, cope with stress, or form a positive self-image, resulting in long-lasting effects that extend into adulthood. All right, I wanted to read that so you'll have a basis to understand people who grew up with toxic parents. Okay, let's read this letter. I'm a 23-year-old woman from Detroit. Growing up, my mother and I went through hell together. She always claimed I was difficult, blaming it on me being spoiled. But in reality, I was a child reacting to the chaos around me. You know, that happens. All right. I acted out in school, slamming doors, yelling at teachers, having temper tantrums, and getting suspended for being a class clown. In second grade, I was touched by a boy at school and my aunt's boyfriend. You know, now that can damage you. I also watched the same man do it to my older cousin. I know now that I was struggling to cope with the abuse and dysfunction I experienced at home. Even now, when I try to speak to my mom about the trauma I endured, she refuses to acknowledge it. Instead, she brings up my childhood outbursts as proof that I was the problem. She's gaslighting you. Okay? When I told her I was abused as a child and witnessed my family go through the same, she dismissed me saying, "Are you sure you didn't dream that? Why would I dream something so horrific?" When I was a teenager, my mom entered an abusive relationship with a man who later became my younger sister's father. They had only been dating for a month before she got pregnant. Before he came into our lives, my mom never gave my younger brother and me chores. She always said she didn't want us to worry about anything. But after she met him, everything changed. Suddenly, at 12 years old, I was burdened with overwhelming responsibilities. I had to prepare my baby sister's bottles every morning, walk little brother home from school, and clean the entire kitchen by myself. On top of schoolwork and living in constant fear of my sister's father's violent outburst, we endured 9 years of domestic abuse, and it took a serious toll on my mental health. He was so cruel to me. He threw away my toys, saying I was too old for them. And when I got upset, he locked me in the unfinished basement with no shoes. Oh, he was cruel. I ended up hurting my foot. When I finally got out, still crying and yelling, he pinned me down and screamed in my face and spit on me. Where was your mom doing all this? She was an enabler, okay? I called my mom, desperate for help, but all she said was, stay out of his way. Probably because that's what she was trying to do. Stay out of his way. She was probably afraid of him too. When I left for college and finally processed everything I had been through, I confronted my mom over text. She told me I had traumatized her kids because of my anxiety attacks. Again, she's putting the blame on you. You're the problem. The same anxiety attacks she ignored, thinking I was just being a spoiled brat. To this day, she has me saved on her phone as spoiled brat. You know, it escalated after she got with that man. And the man set the rules and she went along with it. I've seen so many women. They have, single mothers. They hook up with a man. Now all of a sudden, everything is about his rules. His everything. You got to do what he says. And like she says, stay out of his way. No. That's awful. No. I see now that this is her way of gaslighting me, minimizing the abuse and shifting the blame onto me. She stayed with that man because she was afraid of being alone, and she probably was afraid of him too. And I became her scapegoat. She even involved me in her toxic relationship, showing me the disgusting messages he sent her and asking my little brother and me if she should let him back in after they broke up. Okay, she's not even married to this man. And she allowed this man to come in and change your lives like this? That's awful. And asking my little brother and me if she should let him back in after they broke up. I said no. My brother, too young to understand, said yes. She took his response as permission to continue the cycle. Well, you know what? She was going to continue the cycle anyway. She asked you what you thought, but she really didn't care what you thought. And she did not take him back just because your little brother said take him back. She was going to take him back anyway. And she was just letting you know that he was coming back. Okay? Instead of protecting me, she and him bullied me. Breaking free from my toxic family by going to college felt like a fresh start. But I soon realized I had unknowingly surrounded myself with people just like my mother. And you know why? Because you hadn't healed from that abuse. So your energy was still attracting the same people that abused you, that same energy back to you. That's why. Even the man I thought I loved, he never truly cared about me. Instead, he used my trauma against me, manipulated me, stole from me, and tried to isolate me in his family's home in an attempt to turn me into a scapegoat just like my mother had. It's the energy. You attracted the same energy that you came from back to you. And plus, when you met that guy, the way that he acted was familiar to you because of the energy. You see, that's probably why you hooked up with him. It was familiar. But then he turns out to be the same thing that you were trying to get away from. I finally escaped and returned to my mother's house. She tried to recreate the same abusive cycle. She didn't try to recreate it. It already was there. So when you came home, you were already in the abusive cycle again. This time with her new boyfriend. She would start arguments with me in front of him and even physically abuse my little sister in his presence while he said nothing. That's when I knew he was a covert narcissist, just like her. I don't trust him, and I don't trust her. Before I cut off most of my family, They kept telling me I should know when to shut up and walk away when my mom started arguments. But I'm only human. I was already broken from my narcissistic ex, and my mother took advantage of that and tried to destroy me completely. Well, that's what narcissists do. They try to destroy you. But when you left your mother's house, you should have stayed gone. But you're young. You're just 23. Okay, you say that you had an opportunity to leave the state for an internship, but both your mother and the ex convinced you not to go. I regret that. By the end of the last year, I had lost everything. My ex drained my finances and made me emotionally and financially dependent on him. He even sold all of my belongings. Well, you know what? You are a young girl. You can start over. You don't have to keep up with this nonsense. I'm a strong, educated young woman. I've already completed 2 years toward my bachelor's degree, and I plan to finish it this year. Good for you. Stay there. But I know my mother doesn't want me to succeed. She sees my growth as a threat, and I believe she would rather sabotage me than watch me become better than her. She would, especially if she's a narcissist. They're jealous of you anyway. So she's going to continue to try to tear you down as long as you stay in her environment or around her, period. She's jealous and she doesn't want you to succeed at all. In fact, if your mother is a true narcissist, she wants to destroy you, period. Okay? And just like the guy that you were with, he drained your finances and all of that. When you get out of school and start making some money, if you're still with your mother, she would do the same thing as that boyfriend did. Now you say, after months of homelessness, I finally found resources and started rebuilding my life, far away from my family. All right, so you did leave them. And you were homeless for a while. It's terrifying navigating the world alone at 23 with no support system. Listen, it can be terrifying because you don't have the skills or the experience to navigate life on your own yet. But the thing is, I did it because when I graduated, my family wouldn't even accept me to come back home. And I was 24 and I was out there on my own and pregnant with my first child. My husband was no good, so it was like I was on my own. Okay? My trauma has made it difficult for me to trust others. Don't worry about trusting others. Don't trust them until they prove that they are trustworthy. All right? Because remember, if you have not healed from this trauma, you are going to be attracting the same energy back to you. All right? And there's no way to get around that. You got to heal that energy, that toxic energy that you have inside of you from the trauma that you suffered growing up. You got a lot of childhood wounds that need to be healed. I constantly struggle with the urge to contact my own, just to avoid the feeling of being lonely. Listen, you get on your spiritual path and you won't feel lonely anymore because you will be preoccupied with raising your vibrational frequency. And how do you do that? You start talking positive about yourself, living a positive life, eating the right foods to keep your vibrations high, and reading materials that feed your mind and your soul. Now, I do want to recommend a book because part of your healing is research, is reading. Because when you read things that help you to improve your life, it goes into your subconscious mind. And your subconscious mind actually changes your life. When anything is planted in your subconscious mind can become reality in your life. The book I want to recommend, and I've recommended this book before, Whole Again. And this is for people healing your heart and rediscovering your true self after toxic relationships and emotional abuse. This is a great book. You can put it by your bedside and just read a little bit every night. And this will help you strengthen yourself and how to heal from emotional abuse. It's a wonderful read. You see, I go through it and I highlight points that I can go right back to. I'll put a link in the description where you can get this book. And it comes right from Amazon. You can have it right away. And this is a deeply insightful guide to healing the wounds that hold us back. And these are childhood wounds that hold you back. All right. So get this book, take your time, read a little bit every day, and it will help you in your healing process. I hope that you understand the message today. And I really hope that it helps someone. Now, those of you who may have a question that you'd like for me to answer, my email address is in the description. And if you're looking for today's affirmation, the link is also in the description. I want to thank you so much for supporting this channel. Thank you for your comments and your letters. And a very special thank you to those that leave a donation. I really appreciate all of you. I wish you all the very best. And I really hope to see you next time.